Here with Star Nations Radio Network, and we're broadcasting to you live through VLive TV. Welcome, everyone. Tonight on Chakra Sessions, we're going to do a little dive into our root chakra. Last week, we talked about how the physical aspects of our energy in the root chakra begin to show up. And this week, we're going to look at the root chakra and how it influences our emotions, or our emotions influence our root chakra. And when we look at that layer, we can start to see how our emotions start to impact our physical reality and start to create the physical reactions that we might have to our energy and what's going on around us. And to me, the root chakra is really important because it's our foundation. It's how we sort of anchor ourselves, anchor our lives, and really move forward. So that's how I'm sensing things. So hello, Dinah. Good evening. Glad to have you here in the house, in the studio. I'm very excited to. I know it sounds odd to me coming out is I'm very excited to be talking about the root chakra because it's something that really influenced my life for a really long time. Having imbalance energetically really influenced the choices that I made and influenced how I experience the quality of my life. And when we understand our energy system in a deeper way, then we can create a fuller life, and we can create in a way that aligns with how we want our life to be. So that's exciting. Hi, Neshi. Welcome in the house. Thank you for loving and sharing. I appreciate that. I know this is really good information. I have not taught this information in this particular way before, so I'm very excited about experiencing this and sharing the wisdom that wants to come through. So if you guys could help out by loving and sharing the broadcast too, that would be really awesome, because somebody out there maybe would like to know a little bit more or understand it at a deeper level, which is very neat. And Ellen, hi. I love the picture of your sweetie. Someday I would love to see you and your sweetie in your profile. Just putting it out there. Because you have a beautiful face too. So in the root chakra, it's that, red orb sits at the bottom of our energy system, and all of our other chakras balance on top of it. So in a way, it's one of the most important chakras that we have, because when it's wobbly, it wobbles everything on top of it. So when we talk about having a solid foundation or really getting grounded, it's very difficult when that chakra is out of whack. And we know when our emotions are running amok, how grounded and centered do we feel, and how do we react to what's going on in our life when our emotions are heightened. And right now, that's happening for a lot of people. Hi, Christine. Actually, I was thinking about you today, so that's very cool. Glad to see you. I would love to see your interpretation. I had a vision. I don't know if you've done it. Maybe you've already done it. I wouldn't be surprised. I had a vision of you, these like chakra goddessy painting kind of things, and it's like the red, and I just saw them lined up, and a flash of you. So I don't know if that's in your future or it's wishful thinking on my part, because I would probably be the first one to purchase the whole set. So very cool. I'm glad you're here. So one of the things that happens with our chakras just in general is that our energy flow fluctuates. And we know that because there are times when we are filled with energy and we can go, go, go and do. And then other times we're like, want to lay down on the couch and, have some bonbons and watch potato chip TV and, not move. And that's when we feel this huge lack of flow, right? We feel very lethargic. And when we have that revved up energy, it may be helpful. We may get things done, but we can also, in the emotional energy, when it's revved up, we can overreact. We can, have difficulty controlling our emotions in terms of how they get expressed. We want to be able to feel all of our emotions, but we want to choose their expression so that, we're not just spewing on other people, or maybe we want to, who knows? So Christine's saying, interesting. We'll have to chat. Yeah, it was just this splash. They were very cosmic looking. It was very, I don't know, it's probably influenced by the ones you were doing about the planets and stuff. So I'm excited. So, last week when we were talking about, physically, when the root chakra is out of whack, we feel it physically in our body. We feel it in our muscles, our bones, our hips, our legs. But it can be also anywhere, so if it's in our shoulders, then it's how our root chakra is impacting our heart in that moment. If it's, at the base of our neck, like right here, it may be how our throat is impacting the root chakra, or vice versa. And it shows up as physical pain. And when it shows up as physical pain, it means we're already congested through the layers of the chakra. So if you can imagine, in the very center, there is the physical layer. And then there's like a ring around it. That's all of our emotional layer energy that's connected to that chakra. And then around that are our thoughts and our ideas and our beliefs that are connected to that chakra. And then our spiritual connection to the chakra, how that chakra impacts our connection to the divine and our higher self and our spiritual team. Oh, nice. Hi, Carol. Glad you fed the doggies. Give Rascal and Rudy some hugs for me. And she's also saying hi to Neshi. Nice to have you. So in the emotions of the root chakra, the big thing around the root chakra is fear. And we experience fear in all aspects of our energy body, but the fear here is very primal. It's all about our existence. And so we can have this sense of not feeling safe, feeling like, things aren't going to work out for us. We may have difficulty focusing. We may have this sense of, when we avoid the energy there, we often will get a little spacey. So as we're going to talk about the emotions of this root chakra, how about we ground our energy so that we maybe have a chance to receive the information that's coming through around it. Because grounding is such a great thing when we're talking about big energy. So why don't we take a couple of deep breaths? And in each breath, we're just going to allow our day to kind of melt away and bring our energy, our knowing, and our attention back to our physical body. Back to our energy and this moment in time. And really feel the connection between you and this beautiful body that you are inhabiting right at this moment, that your soul is connected to. And we're going to ask our heart to make a beautiful, thick cord of connection to anchor us down into the deepest part of the earth, so that we are connected and weighted, present in this moment, calling our energy back home so we are not stretched into the future or pulled into the past. And let's create a second grounding cord of connection between our heart and the Creator, the divine above. So imagine it going from our heart through all of our chakras, through our crown, past all the planets and galaxies, to the very center of creation where our soul was first perceived. And asking the anchors, as above, so below. So that we are fully present in the physical moment, in the earth time, but also open to receiving any wisdom from the divine. And let's just boost our immune system while we're here. Strengthening and fortifying the physical layer of our aura in all of our chakras. And the emotional layer in all of our chakras, nice and sturdy. Taking a quick moment to release any overwhelm or disappointment that we felt recently. And fortifying our thoughts and our beliefs so we can feel solid in our own knowing. And fortifying our connection to the spiritual aspect of ourselves, to the connection to our higher self, and our unique connection to the divine, however we perceive that. And welcoming our spiritual teams to help us. With the teaching, with the grounding, and the knowing. Nice. Nice to have you guys here. Hi, Janet. Welcome. Glad to have you here. And thank you, Sandy. I appreciate you liking and sharing the broadcast as well. That's always the way for us to kind of get out there into Facebook land. And I feel that when people connect to the broadcast, even at a future date, it's the exact perfect moment for them to hear the information or receive it. So thank you. So getting back to our root chakra, that little red orb, when it's wobbly, it's not always in that beautiful bright red color or in this really full round orb that we want it to be. Sometimes it gets squeezed a little bit. So sometimes it's misshapen. It might be more of an oval. Sometimes the thing has to shut down because too much energy went through it, or energy's been leaking. And so when that happens, we experience things in a different way. So by discussing how our chakras are work through the layers, we can notice where we might have a little difficulty or have had difficulty in the past. Or maybe it gives us an awareness of why we have difficulty communicating with somebody else, because maybe you will see that they're having an imbalance of some sort in their chakra system. And that's true for most of us. It's very rare that somebody's walking around perfectly aligned and perfectly balanced. And right now, the entire planet is getting a new root chakra energetically. So in that place, we're all going to have we're going to have good moments, and we're going to have not so good moments, and we're going to be riding this wave. And not beating ourselves up about it, just being aware that, okay, right now I'm in overwhelm, or right now I'm in this, or right now I'm like really content and it's okay. And being in that place of accepting ourselves wherever we're at. But if we're unhappy with where that place is, we, with some knowledge, can start to take action and start to create change. And that's really kind of what this is about. So I'm going to keep looking at, I have a very detailed book about it's really just outline. This is what the beginnings of my chakra book look like. And so I brought this over because lots of times, you see people who are very similar to you. So you might see a lot of people who have too much energy, and then you might see a lot of people have too little energy, and you don't realize what balanced looks like, or too much looks like, or too little looks like. And those fluctuations in energy flow are, the ebb and flow, like the ocean. But the key is to sort of have that time. Today was one of those days where the ocean was just really calm. The waves weren't crashing into shore, and it was a really beautiful color, blue with some green. And it was just, these little ripples coming in and out. And when you have that, you're like, and when that is where we want to be, then we have to understand how to go from one extreme to another. So hi, Kimberly. I'm glad you joined us in Divine Timing. Nice to have you. So as I was saying before, the first chakra is very much about emotionally, it's connected to primal fears. So these are fears that, other animals have in particular ways. So it's all about survival, making sure you have food, shelter. And for us, that includes like finances and job and stability. It also is connected to our family and feeling that they're safe and connected. And right now, we may not be able to see all of our family or connect with all of our family. And that can cause some imbalance because we have to blindly accept that everything's okay. And that sometimes is difficult. So this one of the things that's been coming up a lot is people who are having too little energy. So I'm going to start with too little energy in the root chakra, because this is one that I hear quite often in terms of people coming for energy work. It's when they're having, when they're anxious, when they're nervous, or they're worrying. And right now there's a lot of that. It's like we need to know, or we want to know, and we're just uncomfortable in all of this not knowing. And part of that is to be able to create a root chakra that's a little more flexible, that can adapt to change, that can go with the flow, rather than being caught in the rigidity of it has to be this way. This is the only way. And so we're seeing the two things. Now with too little energy, there's this fear and anxiety and worry that bubbles up, and it starts down at the root chakra and it works its way up. And then by the time it hits our third chakra in our belly, it's like everything's clamping on to hold down that anxiety, hold down that fear, hold down that worry. And when we are doing that, it really can create sort of like a chain reaction. And then we might even start to experience that in the physical. Our stomach may hurt. We may have the pains in our body that we were talking about. Hi, Jen. I just saw that you came on. Nice to have you, dear. And thank you, Kimberly, for sharing. Really appreciate that. Oh, shared with love. Love it. Thank you. So do you know anybody on the planet right now who maybe is a little concerned about money? The shutdown is impacting a number of people. Now, some people aren't impacted. They're just working from home, and that's working fine for them. But there are a lot of people out there who their financial stability, the security of their job, sort of got tossed up in the air, and they're not certain. And that uncertainty will bring up old survival fears. So it could be like I'm somebody who moved a lot when I was a kid. So I didn't have a grounded home base that was like anchored my energy. From the time that I was 5 until the time I was like 14, I moved 7 times. And so just when I would start to put down energetic roots, it'd be like, just kidding, we're moving again. Now, I was lucky enough to move in this, in the same vicinity most of that time, but there was still the changing schools, and now you had to change friends, and there was that rhythm that couldn't get established. So, of course, my team made sure that I moved during the beginning of the pandemic so that I would have that energy come back up of, okay, you no longer have your grounded roots in a place you've been for years. Now you're in this new place and this new space, and you need to learn how to be comfortable with this new rhythm of just learning how to adapt to what's going on around you. And so being comfortable with change is something that is an elevated energy. So if you think about it, in the third dimension of our emotional body and our root chakra, it's all about, my personal survival. You're not even thinking about your family or friends or anyone around you. It's like, what do I need to do to stay alive right now? And in the fourth dimension, you are concerned about others around you. You're concerned about your family. It's how do we bring the collective energy and make it safe and secure? And you may be having a tug of war between those two things because they may not match. And that's okay. It's allowing that older, denser emotional energy to shift. And when we have too little energy flow, we don't have enough surging to allow our energy body to adapt. We're like freezing energetically to a degree. And in that frozen place, we can get really overwhelmed and we get anxious, and the worry comes in because things aren't going in a predictable pattern. Oh, hi, Beth. Nice to have you. Nice to have you. Woohoo. So in this place, this often will lead to feelings when there's too little energy. People start feeling left out, left behind, and abandoned. And so this is a really big thing that we're seeing for our kids who were supposed to graduate this year, who are graduating, right? And I find it really interesting that the children who are graduating this year are all children who were, in most cases, born in post September 11th or in that September, from September 11th forward. So it's interesting that they came into the world in this way, and then this is how they're concluding their ceremony and their ritual. They came in with a bang and they're going out with a bang, stepping into adulthood with this new world order energetically. So this can really trigger that feeling of, being the odd man out. And so you see a lot of people who remember that feeling or who carry that feeling in their own root chakra and are doing things to try to alleviate that for other people. You're seeing, beautiful signs to the kids. There are, caps and gowns that are being, given out. And I know some schools are, sending a photographer to take pictures of the kids in their caps and gowns, and then sharing it on their school pages and their websites to let them feel like they're seen and heard, and they can have that special moment. But when this is really when it's really, there's almost no energy in the root chakra. So it's not just that there's too little, but when it's basically flat and deflated, that's when you have this paranoia energy starts to come in. And some of that paranoia is grounded in beliefs and ideas that have some basis, that have some reality, but it's why you can see an escalation of me versus them energy, the people who believe this and the people who believe that, rather than, and that happens in more of a third dimensional way. And then in the fourth dimensional way, our heart hurts. Our heart hurts for the other people. And so we may not be all the way blown into paranoia, but we have this heaviness and this denseness that makes it really difficult for us to move forward energetically. And the interesting thing is when people have too much energy in their root chakra, and yes, there is such a thing as, too much energy, because it's when it's going to blow, right? When it's revved up too hard, too fast. It's not good to take your car and drive it as fast as you can all the time, right? You want to be able to fluctuate what speed you go at. So if you're gunning it all the time, you start to blow your engine, you wear down your resistance and things like that. When people have too much energy, they cross the instead of having, feeling, they have those feelings that, it's me versus them, which can be, hoarding, which we talked about last time. It's why some of the initial reactions were to hoard toilet paper because, that's our root chakra when our bowels come through our root chakra. So hoarding toilet paper, hoarding certain things, that was that fear of survival. I won't survive without it. It was not about, there are other people and there's plenty to go around. It's just an old energy that got activated. It got triggered and it showed up that way. Now we're seeing that, there's people who have too much energy down there. They start to get a little more aggressive. So this is when some of the bully energy takes root. So that my way is the only way, rules don't apply to me, you can't tell me what to do. We're seeing some escalation of that. And this can create, some very aggressive behavior in others. And this is when, I'm going to, in the past, there have been times when that gets activated and it causes riots and things like that, because people get so caught up in that fear. And so you're seeing things like the protests, instead of just being calmly trying to share our opinions, people are coming in and being more aggressive than usual. Seeing people with guns and things like that, so they're trying to force their idea by threatening somebody else. There's a sense of security and their sense of safety. And that doesn't, that's when we have too much energy in our root chakra. And in that place, when they've got too much, when fear's got a lot going on energetically and they've got too much energy, number one, they can feel very greedy. You may see them as being greedy because they may not be willing to share, because they don't have a sense that sharing can happen. So it's not something wrong with anybody. It's just that this old fear got triggered. And in that place too, they sometimes will manipulate. They'll manipulate circumstances, or they'll manipulate the truth because they just can't figure another way out. So we've all seen people when they've gotten backed into a corner, and when they feel backed into a corner and threatened, they're going to say whatever they need to say to get what they need, right? And in that moment, they believe it fully because they just want to get out of that situation. And that's what happens when there's too much energy and it's really going. And it's all about them. They're excluding everybody around them. It's just them. And they cannot really understand that their actions are influencing someone else. So we have both things. If you're paying attention, or if you're connected to social media or media right now, you're seeing both extremes. You're seeing the anxiety, you're seeing the worry, you're seeing the fear. You're also seeing the people who are going a little stir crazy and they're getting aggressive, right? And that's too little and too much. And as an observer, we might say to the person who's anxious and worried, oh, you're too sensitive, right? We'll say, you're too sensitive, or they're too aggressive, right? We'll use that too, because there's much lack or much. Sorry, when I channel and there's not a word, it's like, much, a lot. Hi, Chris. Thank you. Here's my cousin. Woohoo! Thank you for sharing. Thank you. So the goal is to see if we can get our chakras to balance. And when we're talking about the emotional realm of the root chakra, it's having our experience of our emotions. We're going to have fear. We're going to have worry. We're going to have anxiety. But are we going to let it overtake us and create how we're going to experience our life? Or are we just going to honor that it's there for the moment? And you're like, oh, I'm having a little bit of this, and okay. and it happens to all of us. So I want to make it clear that it's part of being human, that we're going to have times when we have this wash of overwhelm, or we have this wash of disappointment, or a wash of resentment, or a wash of righteous anger, and that is a clear indication of where we are. That's all it is. And it lets us know where our personal boundaries are. It lets us know where our energetic boundaries are. And when we feel something in the extremes, it means something's a little bit out of whack. And it doesn't mean, oh my gosh, something's wrong with me. It just is like, I'm a little ungrounded and I'm a little unbalanced today. And then what do? We ground our energy. We shield our energy so that we're in just our own and not experiencing everybody else's. And then we take a look at it if we want to. And we don't have to. It's just being aware that that's what's coming up for you right now. And it's not judging it and not putting yourself down, because you don't want to be in that energy where you have too much, and it's that aggressive bully energy. If you are in a place where that's coming up, and it happens for all of us at some point, do you project that bully energy towards other people? And sometimes we definitely do, especially people we love. Many of us bully ourselves. We start judging ourselves with all the shoulds and coulds and woulds that are out there. Oh, if I'd only done that, then this wouldn't have happened, or this could have happened. And we deflate our own energy, and we collapse what is really happening, and we dismiss it. And none of us feel great when what we're feeling and experiencing is disregarded or dismissed. That generally activates some anger. And so why would you dismiss your own emotions? And in the root chakra, there's just this base fear that comes up when we're worried about our survival, and we're allowed to be worried about that right now. But we, can do our reality check. Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have food in your fridge and in your cupboard? Are you, are you safe? Are you safe in your own home? And if you can answer yes to those three things, then you can start talking about, okay, how are your finances? Because there are a lot of people that their finances are a little wonky right now. But, do you think you're going to be okay this week, this month? If things stay this way, will you be able to be okay for 3 months? And have a sense of, okay, I'm safe for like 6 months. I'm at least good for 6 months. So I can chill and ride this out and sort of know that I'm there. Does that make sense? Yes. Now she's saying we have the choice to make after identifying it, to stay in the energy or shift it. That's what we do when we are aware. My team uses the term aware versus the term awake. And so I use that distinction because words have power. And so in terms of aware, it's the simply knowing, and in the knowing, we can choose. We can choose to be like, all right, this is where I'm at, and I'm going to stay in it. Or we can take action to shift it and change it. In a non-aware state, we experience the energy and we react to it. So we're not even aware that we're having a reaction. It's just a visceral thing. Somebody says something and you lash out back. That's an animal reaction, and we've all had those where, somebody says something and they just push your buttons. And then once your buttons are pushed, then you react. And then you're yelling at each other, but you're not having a conversation. You're not communicating. Talking at someone, saying words at them is not communicating with them. Communication involves active listening as well as speaking from your authentic truth. And so that we can do that most easily when our energy is more balanced and when we are in the present moment, and I can remember a time when I heard my spiritual teachers talking about, you need to be in the present moment, and my brain knew what that meant, but my energetic body didn't. I had a lot of trauma from my past and I was dragging it with me. So all of that trauma was influencing how I reacted to circumstances in my life. So it wasn't that I was living my life, I was reacting to it. And when I started to release the baggage of my trauma, then I was able to be in the moment and be aware, so I could have choices. I could choose how I was going to answer somebody, maybe choose not to answer somebody. There's times where it's like, if somebody's got that aggressive, too much energy in their root chakra, there's no talking to them because they're not hearing you. So why waste your energy, right? To be able to stand in a place and go and hear them and allow them to spew what they need to spew. You don't have to absorb it. You don't have to take it on. You just hold space, which means holding space is when you have your energy boundary there and they can share it and it doesn't get dumped in your pot. Chris is saying, walk away, breathe, refresh, and ground whenever the words slip too much. Then come back to communicate the truth. Yes, that can be a way. But sometimes we can't walk away, right? Because in that space, they're in the middle of their reaction. And so sometimes we don't necessarily need to walk away, but we can just breathe. And in that breath, we can go, okay, this is where they're at. And then we can communicate and say, I'm not in a place to be able to have this conversation right now. So I'd love an opportunity to do it again tomorrow or, in 10 minutes so that I can, say what I need to say without all of the old emotions attached to it. It'll come to you when you're in your heart space, it'll come to you. So when our emotions are out of the emotional layer of our root chakra is out of balance, it then creates the reactions above it. So then the emotions in our relationships start to have some wobble to them, and that emotion starts to impact how we visualize ourselves and how we see ourselves. And when it works its way up like that, then it starts to impact some of our other connections to our mental health and well-being. And we're going to talk a lot more about mental thoughts and beliefs and things next week when we delve into the mental layer. But the depression in particular, bipolar, even ADHD and ADD, they do not manifest in the physical body with a solid, balanced root chakra. So when your root chakra is centered and grounded and balanced, the depression does not show up, The bipolar symptoms don't show up. Schizophrenia actually doesn't show up. ADD, ADHD, they don't show up either. And so just looking at that, it's like, wow, my mental health and well-being works from the foundation up. And I get to have all the emotions I'm going to have, but I can be in this aware place of when there's too much energy behind them, when there's too little energy, and when I'm in sync. So when we're balanced in this chakra, you're going to feel safe and secure, and really life can throw things at you and you're like, okay. But it doesn't unsettle you. It doesn't create this sense of panic within you. And you're able to go, it's like, okay, so, you'll go on and you'll file for unemployment if you need to, and you're not going to panic if it doesn't show up tomorrow. Because when we don't send energy to that, then it does show up more rapidly. And it allows us to feel grounded even in crisis. And that's the thing that we're experiencing right now, is that for a lot of people, the pandemic has created crisis energy. And we might have panicked and had panic in the very, very beginning, because it was like, oh no, this is a lot of change all at once. And now we've had a little time to sit in it, and we can go, okay, but I'm still here and I'm adapting to change. And this is a great time for me to work on ways that I can change and ways I can do things. So one of the things that really, oops, I'm gonna get Neshi's up here. Would you say this is a basic spiritual hygiene, grounded, centered, and balanced, much like washing our hands on a regular basis? Yes. Definitely. It's the ground up, right? It's energetically washing from the ground up, and balancing from the ground up, balancing our chakras from the root all the way to the crown, and just checking in and seeing the brightness of the color and the shape of the chakra. And you can do that in a meditation. And that can help you get centered. The oils that I have channeled, there is an oil for each chakra. And it shows your chakra, it reminds your chakra energetically how to come back to center. So you don't have to know necessarily how you're out of whack. Oh, well, is this because I have too little energy or because I have too much? It's like, it's because it's not in balance. And if you just know that it's not in balance, the oil can help remind you how to do that. Very much like meditation can help you remind to do that. And it is part of our basic spiritual practice, is to, we pay more attention to our car than we do to our energy body, and we go for tune-ups and checkups of our car, but we don't do tune-ups and checkups of our energetic body and our spiritual body. And we run this car every day of our whole lives. So it's not a yearly checkup kind of thing, It's a great daily practice if you can get into the daily practice. And as you are learning, if you don't exactly, know how to do that properly yet, then it's checking in with a mentor or teacher who can show you or help you or guide you on that, and then you get regular energetic checkups and have healing so that excess energy is removed and that the chakras are brought back into balance. And that can be as important to your energetic health and well-being as anything else. I know for me, The only way that I worked through my post-traumatic stress was to learn how to balance my energy and to release the trauma that had been running its circuit in especially my lower three chakras for decades. And going on, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to upgrade my software. So that makes a lot of sense. One of the things, we're getting toward the end is, and I'm ending a few minutes early because the beautiful Maureen Mann will be right after my show for her angelic angel therapy. Woo! I need to start writing this stuff down. So angel therapy with Maureen Mann is coming up right on the hour at 8:00, and she'll be doing some connection to the angelic realm, and she'll also be pulling cards for people who would like a message from your angelic team. So that's a great thing. So to kind of wrap up the emotions of the root chakra, it's understanding that our feelings are important, but they influence our lives. And we get to be in an aware state where we can choose whether we're going to react or we're going to take action. And when you know there's a choice, and when you can sit for a moment and make that choice from your highest space and for your highest benefit, then you start to spread the love around you to those you interact with. And that's how we heal ourselves, and that's how we heal our planet. So I'm just going to do a quick share. If you want some help from me, or you want to know more about my oils or my blends, feel free to visit trinityhealingsanctuaries.com. Most of my blends are located there. I do have a special. I meant to do it last week. That's coming up with the chakra oils. I'm doing the whole package of them, the 7 basic chakras as a set. And for those of you who understand that it's also important for us to connect to our soul chakras, there is also a set that includes those 5. So it's a set of 12. And so you can learn how to bring your energy system into balance, learn how to connect to each of your chakras in all of the layers, and restore balance in your life and the lives around you. So with that, you guys, thank you for being here, helping me with my purpose. My mission is to heal the healers, because you guys need to get out there and shine your light the way that you're meant to. And I'm so thankful to Star Nations for being here and giving me this platform to live my purpose. So thank you guys. Mwah. And I will see you next week on Chakra Sessions here at 7 on Thursdays. And you can always come and get some healing and some guidance on Wednesday nights from 7 to 9 for Soul Connections. All right, guys, have a great one. Glad to have you here.